Hello there, this is Unqualified Opinions. I'm Paul Hires, back with Will Beiermann, and we're back doing another round of NBA questions, this time in 2022. Will,
Thanks,
how you doing?
Dude, I'm excited, we had requests to make these videos, keep them going. I love it. Let's get into it, Paul. Jared DeHaan's on standby if he ever hears anything he knows about.
I'm here. I probably won't have much insight, though, so I'll sit this one out.
Hey, every team needs a 12th man on the bench. You got this.
I was that in high school or in middle school for basketball, so I've been there before.
Moving on to actual real football, good, right? Moving on to good basketball players.
All right, and our first question, the Chicago Bulls, what do you think? Do you think they have the potential to get to the playoffs? Are they contenders or pretenders?
Well, obviously they're a playoff team. Now, when it comes to actually deciding if I'm going to give them contender versus pretender status, I would have liked to see them shore up their bench a little more. And they're not a super deep team. Their starting lineup's great. I would assume he's been a revelation.
Let's go, IO.
Yeah, I know he was going to say something when that happened. But, it's hard to judge them because they've been a hurt team for so long. Caruso's been out in long periods for twice now. Lonzo Ball's still out. They're putting up good numbers. They're keeping their head above water. They're, firmly remaining kind of in that playoff race. So I'm really just this question really just kind of comes down to when Lonzo and Caruso come back, how far can the Bulls go? The Bulls, they're 38-21 right now. They're second in the East. Without Caruso and Lonzo, that definitely does point them as a contender. I will say they're a contender. I don't know if I like them, in the championship. But I think they're a conference championship team. I think they'll show up and play the Nets or the Sixers or the Bucks, but I honestly have to say I'd put them above the Heat, but I think they're worse than Nets, Sixers, Bucks. I think they're a threat to make some noise. I don't think they win it all.
Another team in that Eastern Conference conversation, and I know we have a little bit of a Boston following with our co-host Marco Yurkovich representing the Boston area for pretty much every sports team there. What do you think about the Celtics and their chances of making the championship in the East?
Real roller coaster season for them so far. They were in the playoff range for a bit. They've now bumped up to 6. They've had some real struggles, and they brought in Derek White and Daniel Tice. The trade deadline. Those are kind of two of those moves that you make if you think you're a contender. So they certainly are preparing to be a contender. They really needed those guys. Their bench with Romeo Langford or Aaron Naismith or just whoever was kind of rolling in there wasn't cutting it for them. They did a good job picking up some quality reserves. I don't think they're contenders in any way, shape, or form right now. Again, they've turned it around. Jason Tatum's having a great year. Jaylen Brown's having a great year. They're a good team. I think compared to, again, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, again, like last time, I'm assuming the Nets get their act together by the playoff times, even though they're currently 8th in the league. I think there's just too many teams who are better than Boston ahead of them. So good team, yes. Contender, not really, not at all.
Moving to the Western Conference, the Los Angeles Lakers have had not the best success of a year as they thought with Westbrook coming in. What do you think of the Lakers? Do you think they have a shot at making the play-in at this point in the season, or are they packing it up early?
The telling sign of that question comes down to the fact that we're now talking about them as a play-in team. Obviously with LeBron and Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook, who, I think it was generally agreed that was a weird signing that had pretty high potential to kind of be a bust. The goal there is a championship. That's the expected performance from them. Currently, they're 27-31, 4 games under 500, obviously. They're sitting at 9th. So they're a playing team. This question came from superfan Kevin R. Again, and he's just very curious about, I think he is posing that in more of a negative light against the Lakers. Do they still matter? Are they still relevant? If you look at the standings, they are 2.5 games above the Portland Trail Blazers, who are in the 10th spot. Now, Portland, you kind of have to expect them to fade. They cleared house. At the deadline, Damian Lillard isn't going to play for them for the rest of the season, but San Antonio, New Orleans, and Sacramento, Sacramento's the lowest in the rankings. They're 5 games behind the Lakers. Those teams are going to be making a huge push. They're trying to take that spot from them. Anthony Davis is now out for the season. I think the Lakers are probably going to be the 10th seed, honestly. I think they're going to barely hold in and get that playoff spot. I just think without Anthony Davis, they don't have enough around LeBron to do anything of substance. LeBron continues to defy, all odds, playing this well at this age. He's got 29 points per game, 7 rebounds, all that. But again, you're losing 23 points, 9 rebounds from Davis. And then after that, it's Carmelo, Westbrook, Malik Monk, who's, really shown some nice flashes after a poor start to his career in Charlotte. But you're not seeing many deep playoff run guys at all after LeBron. Westbrook's been that bad so far. So yeah, I think play-in is the goal for them at this point. I think they'll barely make it, but I wouldn't be too shocked if they just fell out at this point.
Another question from superfan Kevin R. Harden just made his appearance onto the Philadelphia 76ers a few weeks ago. Does that addition for the Sixers make them instant contenders, or is it going to take some time for them to fit in with his play style?
I think it's kind of a trick question there because I would have already considered them contenders. I think with kind of just that Embiid only, with only Embiid as a star, with that kind of Embiid-centric style play, I think they were a low-ceiling contender. They had the number 1 seed in the East. They were definitely a threat to make a big playoff run, but Joel's not super durable, and they don't really have a ton of proven options behind him. Tobias Harris is kind of going downhill. Seth Curry, they traded away as part of that deal. And then you got guys like Matisse Thybulle, who's fantastic at defense, but, their biggest weakness was you have to wonder where the scoring help's going to come from if Embiid's having an off night or if he's out, if he's hurt. So, yeah, I think they were already contenders, but Harden elevates them so much more. There is potential for a weird fit. It's going to be interesting to see how Harden plays when, again, we never saw him with Durant and Kyrie enough to really see what he's like as a second star, as a secondary player. He'll have to adjust to that with the 76ers, but he better hope they're contenders because at this point, James Harden has kind of established himself as a guy who will whine and force his way out of a situation he doesn't like. This is his second time in 2 years forcing his way out of an organization that gave him everything he wanted in the first place. So he makes some contenders, and he better hope they make a serious run because his legacy kind of as a player is going to depend on what he does here because he's kind of just given himself so much negative press with the trade requests.
And the last question to wrap this one up. I know this hits home for you, but as a fan, what do you make of the Mavs Porzingis trade? Do you think they got a good value for what it was worth? What are your thoughts on this trade? Let it all out.
First of all, thank you, Kevin R., for making me deal with this stuff on air. We took a little break. We've been busy with school and stuff. I thought I was going to get to go through this this semester of the show without having to talk about Porzingis, but, thanks to the boy Kevin for, making it happen. Shout
out to Kevin.
Talk some shit in the comments or something.
My boy Kevin. Yes.
Come at me in the comments, bro. Don't like that. Anyway, to answer your question, though, man, it's really tough to say. So Porzingis had been out when the Mavericks went on an 8-3 run. He was out for COVID for a bit, but he's had so many injuries since the Mavericks got him. He was my second favorite player, in his first couple seasons of the league. Huge Dirk Nowitzki fan. I saw Porzingis play, and he had so much of Dirk in him. Or his potential was so much like Dirk's, more athletic, better defense, though. So I was so thrilled when we got him, Luka's first year. But man, it just never really worked out, constant injuries, questionable fit with Luka. There's concerns that he and Luka didn't get along well behind the scenes. I don't think the Mavericks got optimal value here. They got Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans, 2 guys who played really well, got huge deals for the Wizards, and have not played well since. Bertans is only a shooter. He has not been a good shooter this season, and Dinwiddie's kind of a weird fit on the Mavs. He's not a three-point shooting guard. He likes to attack the basket. He's not doing that well this season. Essentially, Porzingis got traded for 2 tradable contracts. He has a monster contract. Dinwiddie has a monster contract. Bertans has a monster contract, but their 2 monster contracts could be combined into Porzingis's. The Mavericks really kind of went here and said, look, we're playing well without Porzingis on the court at all. He may elevate us in the short term, but at this point, the priority needs to be getting rid of that money so we can make a run at Jalen Brunson and Dorian Finney-Smith. They're two big in-house free agents. And, just any new guys down the road. This was a cap move, plain and simple. They're just hoping they can attach Bertans and Dinwiddie's contracts to, some other deal to try to get rid of that money. But I say as a franchise that needs to win now, it's a bad trade, but for the future, hopefully a good one.
All right, well, that'll do it for NBA Questions 3. I was Paul Hires, and I'm with a very disgruntled Will Beiermann.
Been tough, man. Make sure you guys put your questions in, too. If you guys have questions you guys want to see answered, drop it in the comments. We'd love to address them.
Drop your unqualified opinions about this video as well. And if you're like Jared DeHaan and just want to know more about NBA in general, we'd love to hear those comments and questions as well.
I never said I wanted to know more about NBA. I'm just here.
He was here, so are we, so are you. Stay blessed.
This is Unqualified Opinions. We'll see you on the next one.